Hi, friends. So, recently in prayer, the Lord showed me that there's a lot in the body of Christ that are facing injustices and great injustices, whether it's with them personally or people that they love that are close to them, and that maybe it's people in authority positions or leadership positions, people that are supposed to be covering and protecting you, and they're causing harm and taking instead or hurting instead. And so recently the Lord gave me personally a vision that I felt like was for you, and that was where there was a horse, and the horse was in this race, and they had these blinders on. And the Lord said, forgive and refocus, forgive and refocus. And I feel like this is a word for those that are going through these injustices, that the enemy is trying to distract you. The enemy is trying to cause chaos and get you to focus and feel angry and harden your heart. And the Lord is saying, just like Paul, when he was preaching and a snake bit him and he just threw the snake back into the fire and he kept right on preaching, that the Lord is saying, put those blinders on and stay steadfast in your mind on him and what he's called you to do in this season, and keep running. And that's what I feel like the word is for us, to keep running. And I hear him saying, we are going somewhere. You keep doing the right thing, and I am taking you there, and I am going to take care of you. And as he was speaking all these things to me, he just reminded me of Joseph, and how Joseph, it says that God tested Joseph's character until due time to fulfill his dreams. And Joseph had to forgive great injustices over and over and over again in this story. People doing him wrong, left and right, really wrong. And it says that when he got put into his calling, that he forgave. And think about if in that time he would have gone into this spiral of self-pity, of woe is me, and stopped operating in his giftings, then he wouldn't have gotten there. But because he stayed focused, he forgave, he released, he didn't go into that spiral, and he kept operating in his giftings. That's why he was ultimately put in as a second hand in all of Egypt. And so he's put in that place of authority and power and into his calling, because he had the character formed in him to release forgiveness and to keep operating his giftings. And also Jesus, of course. Jesus had so much of God's character formed in him, that he was able on the cross to say, as he was fulfilling his calling, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they've done. Even though he was facing the greatest injustice that this world has ever seen, the greatest betrayal even from his friends, and he was able to be in a place of forgiveness because his character had been formed. And so something that God spoke very clearly to me is that when they forgave, they were fit. And so when you forgive, you are fit to run in your calling. You are fit to be launched into destiny, because the character of God has been so formed within you. And Hebrews 12:1 says, as for us, we have all of these great witnesses who encircle us like clouds. So we must let go of every wound that has pierced us and the sin we so easily fall into. Then we will be able to run life's marathon race with passion and determination, for the path has already been marked out before us. And so in this scripture, when you study it, when it says let go of every wound that has pierced us, it can also mean to get rid of every arrow tip in us, implying we were carrying an arrow tip from an attack and a wound inside of us that weighs us down and keeps us from running our race in freedom. And so right here, it's telling us that it is key to release every offense, release every heaviness, every heavy yoke, every wound, everything that comes upon us when we focus on the wrong done to us, so that we can run the race with freedom and without hindrance and without weight. And then also I felt to share that when it says, "and the sin we so easily fall into," it also means the sin that so cleverly entangles us, or the sin that is ready and waiting for us. So the context here would point to the sin of unbelief and of doubting God's promises. And so this is a clever sin because it's so easy to like get distracted and get fearful about what's going on, or get angry about what's going on, and forget and lose sight that God is a just God, and all the promises that he has given you, even though it might look the opposite, he is faithful to take care of you, to bring justice, to bring your vengeance. And that's written right there. And so then in Hebrews 12:2, it says, "We look away from the natural realm and we focus our attention and expectation onto Jesus." And so right here, when it says attention and expectation, the Aramaic word implies a gaze upon Jesus, full of expectations that he is enough. And I love this because it's literally saying, keep your eyes on Jesus. Don't focus on what's happening in the natural realm, but gaze upon him with fullness of expectation in him that he is enough. No matter what you're facing, no matter what man is doing to you, no matter the situation or the impossible circumstance, he is enough. And when we gaze upon him, we know that it continues. He is the one who birthed faith within us and who leads us forward into faith's perfection. His example is this: because his heart was focused on the joy of knowing that you would be his, he endured the agony of the cross and conquered its humiliation, and now sits exalted at the right hand of the throne of God. This is amazing because it gives us like a practical step-by-step of how to forgive and release and stay focused on the Lord. He didn't, even though there's like situations where you could feel humiliated or you could feel like someone's trying to humiliate you, the Lord, it says, he conquered the humiliation of the cross. He went through it, and now because of that, he sits exalted at the right hand of God. So when I was reading this, I felt like the Lord said, replace your vision. And so when we're focused on the things of the world and the attack and the injustice of what's going on, that's where our heart gets hard and we shut down. But if we replace our vision with Jesus instead of the injustice or the fear or the unforgiveness, then we can focus our gaze. And when we focus our gaze, we focus our faith, right? So whatever we put our faith in is where our attention is on. It's what our belief and our trust is in. So whatever we're looking at, that's usually where our faith goes, where our trust is put. So when we refocus on Jesus, then we can see clearly the race that we're running and what's marked before us and why. Because it says that he was a joy, like we were the joy set before him. And so we can set him as a joy set before us. He endured the cross and its humiliation because he knew that at the other side of it was oneness with us. And we can do the same. We can endure all of the cross, all of the hard betrayals, all of the things that we're going through, all of the injustices, knowing that on the other side of that, we have oneness with Jesus, that he is enough. And so we need to also know that Jesus, it says in that following verse that he faced intense opposition and betrayal. So he knows what it feels like. He's not a high priest that cannot feel for us, that doesn't have compassion and understanding from having faced it all himself when he was in this world. And so we yoke ourselves with him, knowing that he is with us, that he understands us, and that in him is the victory. And I felt also to share Romans 12:19, and it says, "Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, 'Vengeance is mine, and I will repay,' says the Lord." So just some more practical steps about how to forgive and how to release is to remember how much you've been forgiven. And we all have fallen short of the glory of God, right? We've all sinned, and we've all been in the depths of darkness, and we've all rebelled, and we've all had hardness of heart. And so to remember how much we've been forgiven, when we've been forgiven much is when we can love much. And so to allow the Lord to remind us how much we've been forgiven so that we can love those who do us wrong as well. And so we can choose to forgive as we've been forgiven. We can choose to release so that we can be free to run into our calling unhindered, unweighted down. And I feel like this is a timely word right now before the new year, because we need to get our hearts clean, because there is a race that the Lord has for us to launch into this new year. There is a calling and a destiny for people that are watching this video that He wants you to step into, just like Joseph, just like Jesus. But we have to get our hearts clean and forgive and release. Knowing that He is the one that holds all authority. He is the one that holds all justice in His hands for us. And refocusing onto Him and onto greater vision, because greater is He that is in us and greater is He that is in this world. So I hope this word encouraged you guys. And if you want to sow into this ministry, or feel called to sow into this word, that's at my website, NicoleSamudio.com. If you'd like more information on my coaching and my mentorship program, that's also at my website. And the booking email for me to come and share an encouraging word, or share the prophetic with your church or group. I love doing that, and that is also at NicoleSamudio.com. All those links will be in the description of this video. Love you guys. Stay focused.